crown and repeat, yeah, you're dealing with the king of the city that never sleeps. Everybody bow down to the superhuman strength of a billion suns burning in my tunnel vision. They tell me gods don't fall, so I conquered them all. Yeah, this week I'm not sleeping at all.
Today I'm excited to welcome Antoni Franco to Totally Music to chat about his musical career. Antoni, welcome to Totally Music. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Antoni. I am a alt rock punk artist from London. I'm 25 years old, and I'm excited to be here.
It's good to have you on. I'm excited to speak to you. So what got you into music?
A mix of things, to be honest. I've come from not a musical family per se, but like music has always been around my family, I think. So like my dad was like he played American football. I never knew whether it was more of a hobby, but like he's got a ring of some kind. So I think it was maybe slightly more than semi-professional, but I never quite knew. But he would have these like Get Pumped CDs that he would always play in the car, and it was like a lot of kind of 90s like rock and metal and new metal and like early 2000s, like that kind of Linkin Park, Papa Roach sort of thing. So that was kind of like my first like, whoa, this is cool shit, you know. As well, like I mean my mum was like real into her music, and like she had a lot of like the same kind of taste, but slightly like she kind of veered off into more of like the R&B and the garage and like the pop stuff more so. So I had like quite a lot of that as well, so there's like a pretty big mix of stuff that it kind of just made sense because it had always been like around me, you know. And then yeah, I mean, shout out to my sister's dad was like real old school, like he liked the like Queen and the Bee Gees and like the Monkees and stuff like that, and he was always just playing like real old like corny shit, but like it was always kind of a rat. So like a lot of my historical knowledge comes from like that time of my life when he was sort of more present. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into music. Just always was there, just made sense, you know.
So how would you describe the music you create?
It's a lot of it's what I like more so than anything else. Like that's kind of like at the forefront of what I try and put out. Like if I would listen to it, then it feels good, you know. So I think it's kind of like I said before, like sort of alt rock, kind of alt punk, like kind of always leaning on more of the heavier side of music, really. But like as well, I think that I like to make the music as accessible as possible. Like I think that like a lot of metal music and like heavier music is kind of generally quite inaccessible to a lot of people. So having like, you know, quite heavy and sort of gnarly stuff happening, but then having like a big chorus that like people can sing along to and stuff is kind of like that's where I kind of sit. It's not like it's metal with like pop foundation, you know.
Nice. So what is your first musical memory?
I had to think about this, and I can't remember my first ever musical. There's like moments in my childhood where like, you know, my granddad was a drummer for his church band, so like he would have his drum kit set up, and like there's always like good memories there of like he's got the kit out, like I can just have a go. But I think like something that stood out when I was thinking about this was I remember, so in school, I don't know whether you have the same, but like we used to do like choir singing in primary school. So like not like in any kind of religious sense, but like more so like at Christmas, you do Christmas songs and like maybe some hymns and Easter like festival type stuff. But I remember singing that we were doing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and I had been listening to a lot of all the music that I was talking about beforehand. So I'd only really ever like heard like American singers really, and like I decided to sing Rudolph at maybe 6 or 7 years old, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer in like a real like cursive, over exaggerated like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer like, and I just remember I remember someone that I was sat with just sort of like looking at me like what the fuck is this guy doing? At like 6, I was like, "Get out," you know? And it just like embarrassed me so much that I was like, you know, they're not ready for me yet, you know? So I sort of stayed a little more quiet during choir, but I think that was one that sort of stood out. Probably not for the right reasons, but like it was, I don't know. Yeah, it was not a good one per se.
I love it. So what inspires the music you create?
Timelessness really more than anything else. Like I think that if I can make as good a song as possible, that's what, like, the song is always like at the forefront of whatever it is that I'm doing. Like, does it work for the song? Like, I think that a lot of trends kind of come and go. And not to say that like rock and metal isn't like a trendy type of music, nor is it a timeless type of music at all. Like, it gets very dated very quickly. But like, I think that if I can, you know, like, make music that would still resonate for someone like me in the next 20 years, and they like look back and they're like, oh, I used to, you know, listen to this person, and they're like in their 40s and they're showing their kids and they're like, oh, this is the music that I listened to growing up. And that's kind of what I'm trying to make, really. Like, it's, you know, it's quite I rarely, and I've had to stop myself, and I know I have a lot of like other musical friends that kind of fall into this sometimes, because it's really easy to do, but just like falling into, oh, this type of thing is like trending at the minute, like it's getting a lot of views, and like, you know, I want to do something like that. And it stops. Like, I've had writing sessions with people where it just stops you in your tracks, because you're writing for that moment, rather than for the long term. And like, you know, in the next like 3 weeks it's going to be something else, you know, and like you can never keep up with that sort of thing. So I think, yeah, just like writing for me and for people like me to just be as not trendy as, but because I'd love people to listen to me, obviously, but like, you know, but still kind of like, will this stand the test of time? Or am I writing about, like, I don't know, like agitate or something? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, just kind of like topical, but like more so about the timeless feelings and thoughts and like personal stuff, you know?
So what's been your favorite song you've written, and why?
There's a few, and I won't delve too far into them, because I think no one wants to hear my thoughts on my song. But like, I think that for me, I think Life is Boring is a real good like snapshot of like everything that I grew up listening to. And for a long time, just being able to like have a song that kind of replicated in some way like all the music that I grew up listening to, and like being able to just like keep that as like, here's the thing that I tried to do for, you know, 5-10 years before actually releasing anything. That's all that work put into this song, and it came together so easily, and like it just felt right. And like a lot of other people resonated with that, like it was kind of similar to the stuff that they grew up listening to. But I think that like as time is going on, like I'm definitely not in that place anymore. Like, I still write sort of more pop punk s tunes. Like Sad, I think, is still in that same sort of world, and like I love that song, and I loved working with Goran on it, because I think he's just like such a blast to work with, and like we've been friends for a really long time, and like worked together on his music a lot, and like it was just good to sort of like bring that together, because we both sort of really respect each other as musicians. And but yeah, it's kind of like a bit dated for me. Life is Boring, I think. But like a song like Up All Week, for example, I think is probably like my actual favorite, because I sort of had this whole giant, like I mentioned earlier, about like I'd only ever really heard like American singers in this sort of rock space. And it was the first time that I really felt like this is a song that is me, more so than anything else. I was like, okay, I don't always have to sing with this kind of American accent. I can bring some more of me to the forefront. Like, it's not, I don't sing how I talk, but like it just felt like, okay, this is what I want to do. And like it lasted, you know, I had it in the bank for maybe 2-3 years before I put it out. Like it's quite old. Like for me, and like hearing my voice on it, it's like, oh, this is weird to hear, you know. But yeah, it was really the first time that I was like, this is like what I'm doing. Like that I found my thing, you know. So yeah, I think probably those two. And then like there's so many floating around at the minute that aren't out yet that I think, you know, I'm really excited to get those out, because those are really now like some of my favorite songs that I've done.
Excited to hear them. So if you could collaborate with anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
It's got to be Ruben. It's got to be Rick Rubin. Like I think that like he's just like this benchmark for creativity and sort of like everything that you like. If you want a song that feels like it's got soul and like there's the artist in that song, I think that like he's seemingly very good at sort of bringing that out to the forefront, you know. So like, who wouldn't want to work with Rick Rubin? You know? But I think like that's dreamland. But like even someone like Will Putney, who's a producer, like he's worked with like so many other bands that I know and love, and like just working with people that are, I don't know, like creatively like inclined, I think, are like not necessarily focused on like making a hit, but like more so about what is good for the song, which is just like my ongoing theme, like when I'm writing, like what is good for the song, you know.
So you've recently had one of your songs played on BBC Introducing. What was that experience like?
Cathartic, unreal, just so great. I mean, we've been trying for intro for ages. Like it's just like it is so hard to just get that first, like, okay, it's on there now, like they've recognized you, like here I am, you know. And like I've worked with Melita, with another artist that I work with like a few times, and she's always like so lovely, so enthusiastic. So big shout out to Melita Dennett. But yeah, was just like so cool to like, oh, that's mine, that's my song there in that lineup, you know.
Well, as I said, that's how I found you, and as soon as I heard
Yeah.
I'll have you on. So it's
Oh, I appreciate that. No, yeah, thank you. I mean, yeah, I mean, you know, the reception was seemingly really cool. It's hard because, like, you know, you're obviously kind of like listening out for like, are people texting in and like, do people like it? But you don't ever really like know for sure until like someone like you reaches out and it's like, oh, I really loved your song, and like, yeah, it's really cool. It's a really cool platform. I think it's so great for artists like me that just kind of are just trying so hard to get their music in front of people, you know.
definitely. So what's been your favourite gig to date and why?
I've got two. We had a show, kind of a hometown show in Guildford, which we'd been trying to get through the door for ages. Like we've been gigging for like a year or so, like all throughout London. Like we played all of the venues. We went through all the promoters, and you know, like the Guildford show that we did at the Star Inn. I think it was either late last year or early this year. There's just been so many, like I can't even geographically like figure out like when it was. But we had like a ton of people, like all my band is from Guildford, and like they had their friends that was sort of like umming and ahhing about all the London shows and about like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to get home. So like it was the prime time. It was the first one that we did there. So it was like prime time. It's like, okay, you've been talking about like, oh, you really want to come to the show. Here's one that's like on your doorstep, fucking come. So yeah, we had a ton of people show up, like loads of people brought merch, like the sound was good, the lights were good, people were dancing, people were going crazy. Like it was kind of like the benchmark of like a good gig, you know. So probably that for sure. And also I feel like I should mention, because they like it was more recent and like they just kind of blew me away, like with the setup of the show. There's a kind of indie label called Socks On Records, and they put on a show every year called East Anglia, and it's I don't know whether it's always in Peterborough, but I think it's in Peterborough. But they were just like such amazing promoters. Like they the venue was packed. It was an all-day festival, and like, you know, with the all day is like, it's kind of, you don't know what you're gonna get really, because like people might just be there to see the band that they want that's on at 2, and then you're on at 6, so it's just like a whole new set of people that are there. But from the minute we arrived, it was heaving. They'd done so well to actually like promote it. Like, you can't always guarantee that a promoter's gonna actually promote a show, you know. So like, it was, they had like a radio takeover that they did before the gig. So some people had like heard my last single, Tyrants. They'd heard it on the radio, their local radio beforehand, and they were like, "Oh, I love this song so much, so I wanted to come out and see you." I was like, "Oh, weird." Like, normally I have to like ask people to come, you know. And they released a like a compilation album on Bandcamp, which all the money from that went into the artist pot. So we got a little bit of money from there. Like, that we got free drinks, which is not always a given, which is always nice. Like, free drink, you can not, but don't quote me on this, but like, for future reference, you can not pay me, but if you're providing food and drink, like, we're cool. Like, it's fine, you know. But yeah, that show was really cool. So big shout out to Socks On. They're really fucking cool guys. Like, and they're musicians as well, so they like understand the struggle.
Good. And finally, what's next for you?
We have, I mean, by the time this is out, it probably won't be relevant anymore. We've got a show tomorrow in Brighton, at Dalton's, which is a kind of like cool up and coming venue for like this sort of heavier music scene. We've got a show in Sheffield at the end of this month, September, 27th of September. We've got Bristol at the Thunderbolt at the end of October. I think that's going to be the 18th of October. We've got our Bristol show yet to be announced, but will probably be announced by the time this is out. And then yeah, EP's coming October, 1st of October. I'm hoping. But then after that, just writing, recording. We've got like a lot of, we're now in the phase of kind of like writing with my band, because it's all been kind of just solo stuff for the time being. But you know, I really love the guys that do the live show with me, so like, we're going to start writing together and stuff like that. So we've got kind of plans for a next project for me and for us, which is all really exciting. So I'm just ready to get like stuck into it. Like, I've been sat with this EP for about 6 months now. I'm just like, I want to get it out so that we can like kind of move on to the next thing, you know.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, it should be good.
So a massive thank you, Antoni, for joining me on Totally Music. If anyone
thanks so much.
This is music, I'll leave all the links in the description below by you. Thank you.
Amazing. Yeah, thanks so much. Really appreciate you taking the time.
From a crown and repeat, yeah, you're dealing with the king of the city that never sleeps. Everybody bow down to the superhuman strength of a billion suns burning in my tunnel vision. They tell me gods don't fall, so I conquered them all. Yeah, this week I'm not sleeping at all, let me tell you now.